In 1923, a man named Burt Pierce had a problem. He was building carburetors for aircraft engines, and the jets kept clogging. Carbon deposits, fuel residue, gunk. It was choking the engines and grounding planes. So he mixed up a blend of petroleum solvents and lubricants in his shop and poured it into those engines. The carbon dissolved, the jets cleared, the engines ran like new. That formula is still being sold today, over 100 years later. It's called Marvel Mystery. It costs $4 a bottle at Walmart, and it does something to your engine that the automotive repair industry would rather you never find out about. It keeps it clean from the inside, prevents carbon buildup, frees stuck piston rings, silences noisy lifters, and helps your engine run smoother and last longer. All for $4. My name is Rusty. I've been fixing cars in these mountains for 50 years. Elk Creek, West Virginia. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is some kind of miracle juice. I don't believe in miracles. I believe in chemistry and 50 years of seeing what works under the hood. I've poured this stuff into more engines than I can count up here in West Virginia. Old Fords, Chevys, Dodges, you name it. And I've watched it do things that a $500 dealer service claims to do for less than the price of a cup of coffee. The reason you've never heard your mechanic recommend it is the same reason you've never heard your dentist recommend not eating sugar. It's bad for business. Let me tell you what's happening inside your engine right now that you can't see. Every time your engine runs, combustion creates byproducts, carbon deposits, varnish, sludge. Over thousands of miles, this stuff builds up on your piston rings, your valve stems, your lifters, your oil passages. It's slow. You don't notice it, but it's happening. Your piston rings are supposed to sit loose in their grooves and spring outward against the cylinder wall. That's what creates the seal that keeps combustion pressure pushing the piston down instead of leaking past it. When carbon builds up in those grooves, the rings get stuck. They can't expand properly. You lose compression. You lose power. Your engine starts burning oil because the seal isn't tight anymore. And the dealer tells you your engine is worn out and you need a rebuild. $3,000 to $5,000. Half the time, the engine isn't worn out. The rings are just stuck in carbon. That's where this $4 bottle comes in. Marvel Mystery Oil has 3 things in it that matter. The first is a naphthenic mineral oil. That's your lubricant base, about 60 to 100% of the formula. The second is Stoddard solvent. That's your cleaner, about 10 to 30%. It dissolves soft carbon deposits and varnish. The third is the one that makes this stuff special, tricresyl phosphate, less than 1% of the formula, but it's the ingredient that earns its keep. Tricresyl phosphate is an anti-wear compound. When it hits metal under heat and pressure, exactly the conditions inside your engine, it reacts with the iron in your cylinder walls and creates a microscopic protective layer called iron phosphate, a sacrificial film that takes the punishment instead of your engine's metal surfaces. This reaction happens at the top and bottom of every piston stroke, right where metal on metal contact causes the most damage. It's not magic, it's surface chemistry. And it's the same class of compounds that lubricant engineers have used in industrial applications for decades. The other active ingredient, orthodichlorobenzene, is what gives Marvel Mystery Oil that wintergreen smell most people recognize. It's a chlorinated solvent that penetrates deep into piston ring grooves and dissolves the hard carbon deposits that regular oil can't touch. That's why mechanics have been using this stuff for generations to free stuck rings and quiet noisy lifters. Had a guy bring me a Ford F-150 about 3 years ago, 110,000 miles. Every morning he would start it up and it sounded like a sewing machine full of marbles tick, tick, tick for the first 5 minutes until it warmed up. His dealer told him he had collapsed lifters, quoted him $800 for parts and labor to pull the valve cover and replace them. I told him to hold off. I drained 1 quart of his oil and replaced it with 1 quart of Marvel Mystery Oil. I told him to drive it normal for 150 miles and call me. He called me the next day. He said the ticking was half as loud that morning. By day 3, it was gone, completely gone. The lifters were not collapsed. They were stuck in carbon and varnish buildup from years of neglected oil changes. Marvel Mystery Oil dissolved the gunk, the lifters freed up, and they have been quiet ever since. $4 versus $800. Now, I want to be honest with you because that is what I do. This product is not a fix for everything. If your lifters are physically damaged, if your bearings are worn, if your engine has actual mechanical failure, no additive on earth is going to save you. Marvel Mystery Oil cleans and protects. It does not rebuild. But for the kind of slow carbon buildup and varnish accumulation that happens to every single engine over time, especially engines that go a little too long between oil changes or run a lot of short trips in the city, this stuff works. I've seen it work hundreds of times, and the chemistry backs it up. There are 2 ways to use this stuff, and you need to know the difference because using it wrong can cause problems. The first way is in your engine oil, and this is for cleaning. You don't leave it in there permanently. About 100 to 200 miles before your next oil change, drain 1 quart of oil out and replace it with 1 quart of Marvel Mystery Oil. Then drive normally. What's happening during those 100 miles is the solvents are circulating through your engine, softening and dissolving the carbon and varnish deposits that your regular oil can't break down on its own. When you drain the oil at your scheduled change, all that dissolved garbage comes out with it. A buddy of mine helped his nephew do this on a high-mileage Corolla he just bought. The kid had no idea how the previous owner treated the engine. They put a bottle of MMO in 1,000 miles before the oil change. When they drained it, the amount of black sludge that came out was horrifying. They did it again on the second oil change, less sludge. By the third change, the oil came out clean, and the engine was noticeably quieter at idle. 3 oil changes, 3 bottles of MMO at $4 each, and that engine went from a neglected mess to running smooth. A dealer would have charged $300 to $500 for an engine flush service to do the same thing, and half the time those flushes are too aggressive and knock chunks loose that clog your oil pickup screen. The second way is in your gas tank, and this is for maintenance. 4 ounces per 10 gallons of fuel, every fill up or every other fill up. When you add it to your fuel, it travels through your fuel system and into the combustion chamber as a fine mist. It coats the cylinder walls, lubricates the upper cylinder area where your fuel injectors and valves live, and keeps carbon from building up in the first place. This is preventive, not corrective. You won't feel a dramatic difference overnight, but over 20, 30, 50,000 miles, your engine stays cleaner than it would have without it. Some people report 1 to 2 extra miles per gallon. I've seen it on some engines and not on others. But the real value isn't the fuel savings, it's what it prevents down the road. Now here's what you don't do. Don't replace more than 1 quart of oil with MMO. It's thinner than engine oil, and if you add too much, you're reducing your oil's ability to protect under load. Don't leave it in your crankcase for a full oil change interval. Use it as a pre-change cleaner only, 100 to 200 miles maximum. And if your engine is under warranty and runs full synthetic from the factory, check your owner's manual before adding anything. Some manufacturers will use aftermarket additives as an excuse to deny a warranty claim, And a $4 bottle of MMO isn't worth a $4,000 engine replacement fight with your dealer. For engines over 50,000 miles that have been running conventional oil or have unknown maintenance history, that's where this product shines. That's its sweet spot. And at $4 a bottle, the risk-reward ratio is about as good as it gets in automotive maintenance. So why doesn't your mechanic tell you about this? Why doesn't the dealer hand you a $4 bottle of Marvel Mystery Oil and say, put this in your gas tank once a month and your engine will stay clean for 300,000 miles? Because a clean engine doesn't need a $500 carbon cleaning service. A clean engine doesn't throw check engine lights from fouled sensors. A clean engine doesn't develop the noisy lifters that lead to $800 repair quotes. A clean engine doesn't burn oil, doesn't lose compression, doesn't give the service advisor an excuse to walk out to the waiting room and tell you it's time to start thinking about a new car. The entire service industry is built on your engine getting dirty. That's not a conspiracy. That's just business. They make money fixing problems. A $4 product that prevents those problems is the last thing they want in your hands. This formula has been around for over 100 years. It was cleaning aircraft engines before your grandparents were born. The chemistry hasn't changed because it doesn't need to. Solvents dissolve carbon, phosphate compounds protect metal, and engines that stay clean last longer than engines that don't. That's not a secret. It's just a fact that nobody in the repair business has any incentive to share with you. $4. That's what stands between you and an engine that runs cleaner, quieter, and longer than anything your dealer is willing to tell you about.